to my channel. Today is going to be a slightly different video. I'm not going to be doing a studio vlog, but I'm actually going to be talking about how and why I set up my business, Red Vessel Designs. Now, I am in the early stages of my business, what I would still class as the early stages. It's a long process, but I thought, I've had a couple of people ask, I've had a couple of messages on Instagram, and you guys seem interested in this kind of video, so I'm going to go and put the kettle on, and then it's story time. Okay, so I'm going to be taking this story right back to when I was doing my A-levels. So I did my GCSEs in 2010 and decided to go on to do my A-levels. I chose 3 subjects that I knew I would enjoy because I had no idea what I wanted to do as a job. And throughout my A-levels, I was adamant that I was not going to go to university. To be honest, the idea of university really scared me. I was quite anxious about the whole thing, and it just seemed really daunting, the fact that the courses were so specific and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was petrified of picking a course that I hated and ended up dropping out, or was stuck in for 3 years and didn't end up getting a job at the end of it. So I decided that I wanted to experiment a little bit more with the area of textiles and fashion design. So I did it was a level 3 BTEC, and it was in fashion design and clothing, and I really enjoyed it. But as the course went on, I realised I was probably more suited to the other side of fashion rather than the making of the clothes. So it was things like the planning, the visual merchandising, creating catwalk shows, the kind of organisation and advertisement side of things. So I did actually go to university, and I studied fashion promotion in the University of South Wales, and I think I was right about uni. I don't think it was really for me. I found it really hard to fit in. I didn't have any of the kind of student lifestyle that people talk about. For the final module, we were able to create our very own brief, and I wanted to kind of explore the area of like handcrafted items rather than the mass-produced items that we were working on a lot of the time, you know, high street chains and stores, factory-made clothing, fast fashion, you know. And I really like the handmade side of things. In particular, I was really drawn to the kind of handmade gift market. I was dipping my toe and making a few kind of items here and there with my sister. We were doing some craft fairs locally, and I thought, you know, maybe I could use this project and create a brand. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be something I did after I finished uni at the time, but either way, I got my ideas together, I got some products together, and when it was time to pitch the idea to my tutor, it went down like a sack of shit. And I think the word she used was tat, which looking back really angers me because it couldn't be further than the truth, actually. Yes, you get some people making things in their spare time, you get hobbyists, but actually there's a huge section of the market that is handcrafted artisans who research their materials and spend so much time making their products, and it really upset me, actually. I was really angry, and I went home as soon as my mum asked me how it was, because she knew that I had this kind of idea, and I just burst out crying when I got in. I just felt awful, and looking back, I probably wasn't as prepared as I needed to be when I went to her, which probably didn't help. And I actually went to one of my tutors who wasn't even teaching me at the time. He's a bit more understanding. He let me kind of explain my idea in full, and instead of knocking it straight down, he was really constructive, and that's what I needed. And I knew the areas that I maybe needed to work on in terms of creating it as more of a brand. and polishing things up and maybe focusing on my target market a little bit more. So that's what I did. I spent all night that night making new mood boards, getting new samples together. I went into uni the next day and I smashed it out of the park. And I kind of went in with the attitude of, this is what I'm going to do, this is how it's going to look. And I was sort of scoffed at a little bit. My tutor still wasn't particularly happy. I don't think she was ever going to be kind of keen on the idea, and I decided I was going to do it anyway, which is maybe partly foolish, maybe not. So I had to create this brief. I created the brief and I decided I was going to do a pop-up shop. The university had some spaces available for pop-up shops, and I knew, you know, in the centre of Cardiff, I was never going to be able to afford a pop-up shop at any other time, so I had to really run with it. I worked my ass off to get products ready. I had to design all the illustrations. I then had to make all the products with them on, as well as prepare all the store decor, go and visit the store, measure up. I had to do all the paperwork side of it for uni and all the documentation as I went along, and all the 3D designs and things like that as well as, and to be honest, it was manic, really manic. In fact, I was in tears most evenings because the workload was insane. I think if I was buying products in, the stress would have been a lot less, but the fact that we were making all the products ourselves, it was crazy. And I had my mum helping me, my sister helping me, my partner helping me, and somehow I managed to get enough stock together, and I moved into this pop-up shop, and I was open for 5 days. I had, the first couple of days were tending to be like friends and family. I was going out leafleting as well and trying to get people to come into the store. It was a really quiet part of Cardiff, but I was selling items to strangers. I mean, I had strangers coming in buying my items with my drawings on that I had made with my own hands, and I knew there and then that that is exactly what I wanted to do when I left uni. Yeah, it was amazing. I really enjoyed doing it, and like I say, it kind of pushed me into thinking maybe this was an area that I could explore once I graduated. So that was in the end of February 2018, and I graduated in the July 2018. I spent a couple of months not really knowing where I was, and then over the Christmas period I did some craft fairs, but this time it was under my business name. You know, it was under Red Vassal Designs, so I decided to register myself with HMRC and started working on it as a part-time, kind of on a part-time basis whilst working part-time, which I still do now. And now I'm really trying to push it, and I'm doing more like full-time hours, still working part-time in my other job as well, but now it's really starting to feel like it's could potentially really go somewhere for me. I don't want to be greedy, I don't want to be a millionaire, I just want to be able to pay myself a full-time wage doing what I love. Yeah, I sort of sold on Etsy over the Christmas period, and I did some craft fairs, and there was a shop opening called Cardiff Creative Shop, and I decided to go and take a little look. It was at the time in Capital Arcade in Cardiff, and it was basically a collection of artists that were all renting space in a high street kind of shop front. I went in there to get some more information, and I showed them some photos of my products, and they wanted me there, and I was excited. I thought, well, yeah, of course, I'd love to join. So I had what they would call half a bay, which is half a space for half the cost to start with, and it wasn't hugely successful at that point, if I'm honest. For the first few months I was only really covering my rent. It wasn't until I sort of started tweaking how my display was, I moved to another sort of section of the shop, put a bit more time into maybe creating some different types of products, and then it started to sort of tick over a little bit more. I'm still with Cardiff Creative Shop. They've now changed location to Queen's Arcade in Cardiff, and I've actually gone up to a full-size section of the shop, so double the space that I had previously, plus a spinning card stand, and a couple of things on sort of hooks and rails in other places. So for me, I've definitely grown being in that shop, and now it's in a better location. We're hoping that it's really going to push forward a little bit more, and hopefully I'll be doing even better. So I then started to think, well, I'm going to be tackling this, you know, a bit more seriously, and is there anyone that I could get that could help me do that could help me grow? So I contacted a few small organisations, charity startup organisations and things like that, and I came across the Princess Dressed. Now, I'm really happy to do a separate video that goes into a lot more detail of how they've helped me, but I took part in the enterprise scheme and had an interview, had 3 or 4 days of training about small businesses, things like how to register, how to do your tax return, a lot of things I'd previously done anyway. But there was also the opportunity to pitch ideas to a panel and get some funding. And that was something that I was definitely going to run at. I was going to take it with both hands, and I was going to really try my best to get this funding. And I got some. So after that, I was given a one-to-one business advisor who you're supposed to meet with once a month. We've had to do all ours online because of COVID and everything. But she's been really helpful. She's helped me secure more funding to go towards equipment. She's also helped with kind of recommendations for local sort of activities that are happening, local organisations, small business hubs, things like that. And more than that, at the moment, she's kind of just given me somebody to touch base with, somebody to ask me how things are going and follow up on previous conversations that we've had, which as a small business owner is tricky because you're a one-man band, one-woman band, whatever, you're on your own. So a lot of the time you don't get people asking you how things are going, and you don't get people to talk to, and it doesn't feel like many people understand sometimes. So it's nice to have her to talk to. So that kind of brings us to where I am now, and I'm still quite early on in my business journey, and I've already learned a lot and I've already developed products that are getting more and more successful, and I've learned to let go of the ones that are not. I'm slowly understanding my target market and getting to know other indie businesses, which is really important. And I'm really excited actually over the next few months. I have some really nice ideas. I have some really exciting things, like I want to launch a Patreon. I want to do more YouTube videos. I want to do more Christmas markets, although we don't know how that's going to go. And I would love to stock some more retail shops. So I have these plans. And at times like this, I feel optimistic about these plans, but there are definitely times where I'm not so positive, and I think it is normal. I think it's normal to have times when you want to pack it in, and you just want to go and get a 9 to 5, you know, when you're skint or when you're tired or when a product hasn't gone particularly well. For me, the biggest issue that I have is space. I don't feel like I have anywhere to work from. So that would be a future goal for me as well, some kind of office space. We'll see. But if you are a indie biz owner, small business owner, freelance, whatever, if you're trying to start a business, then there's definitely help out there. There's definitely organisations that you can contact. There's definitely people you can go to for advice. You kind of have to push yourself to get in with maybe collectives in your local area, groups of people in your local area. But I'm learning now that that is really important for growth and mentally to have somebody who understands. So for me, I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm really hoping that I can make this work. And I'm really hoping that you're going to be there to come along the journey with me. Fingers crossed.